The Raiders get back to work today. What to look for, who to look out for. That plus a whole lot more on Tuesday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for May 28th, 2024.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thanks so much for making the show your first listen of the day. Make sure you subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts to get the latest edition of the show as soon as it becomes available. As always, if you're giving us a look on YouTube, we definitely appreciate that. The show continues to grow each and every day. That's, of course, because of the support of you, Raider Nation, and my man, Ari. Ari does a great job each and every day making sure we're on YouTube, looking good, sounding good. He takes a challenge each and every day, and he rises to the occasion. We definitely appreciate him. Check him out on Twitter, at Ari Produces. You can hit me up as well, at your boy Q254. And we got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line at 707-654-4693. A lot of calls and texts throughout the course of the weekend that we received, and, of course, on Monday, Memorial Day as well. So we'll try to get as much feedback in as possible. As always, if your call or text doesn't get on, it's not personal. I just got a ton of them, so I try to get as much in as possible. That'll come up in segment number 3. Segment number 2, we'll take a look at the Raiders' current salary cap situation and look at a handful of players that could be in line for contract extensions. Is it going to be before the season, during the season, or could it be potentially after the season? I'll tell you what I mean by that coming up in segment number 2 of the show. And then here in segment number 1, just news and notes, and really just want to talk about OTAs as the Raiders get back to work today after having Memorial Day off. Before we jump into that, though, I do want to let you know today's show is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. As mentioned, the Raiders are back in practice, OTAs for today and tomorrow. And as a matter of fact, tomorrow we'll actually be out there. So I'm looking forward to that, having another opportunity to talk to coaches and players and see what we see at practice. But today it is closed to the media, and then they'll be back today, tomorrow. They'll be back on the 31st. Then they have another 3 days of OTAs, June 3rd through June 6th. And then the one that everyone really focuses in on and gets excited about, mandatory minicamp, June 11th and 13th. So how it's going to go down on Wednesday when we're actually able to be there, we'll speak to the coaches from 8:45 to 9:40 in the morning. We get to talk to assistant head coach Marvin Lewis. That's going to be fun only because that'll be the first time that we've talked to Marvin Lewis and maybe ever. I don't remember a time that we actually got a chance to catch up with Marvin Lewis, and he's very active out there at practice. I can tell you that from seeing him with my own eyes and seeing what he's able to do out there with the defense as he's running drills. So I look forward to talking with him. Quarterback coach Rick Scangarello, he's going to be a guy that we get to talk to. Of course, we'll talk all things Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew and what that quarterback competition could look like and what the quarterback coach and obviously the offensive coordinator Luke Getsy and others are looking for in the quarterback competition. And then tight end coach Luke Steckel will join us as well. So we'll talk to him, Michael Mayer, Brock Bowers, what that 1-2 punch can look like. But that's tomorrow. For today, what is something to look forward to? And, of course, I'm not going to be able to be eyes on the ground. I'm not going to be able to be there. So, really, this is going to be kind of a couple-day project. But when it comes to these OTAs, the quarterback competition is always going to be top of mind, right? Every single day, we're always going to say, okay, did it look like today was an Aiden O'Connell day? Was today a Gardner Minshew day? And this isn't even training camp yet. But knowing that there's a real deal competition at that quarterback spot, every time that there's a chance for them to be out there and compete and there's a chance for us to be out there and observe, we're always going to comment on what the quarterbacks look like, as we should. It's going to be a very big, storyline all summer long throughout training camp. Who's the leader in the clubhouse? Who's the quarterback that's putting the team in the best position? Are the Raiders going to win? What quarterback is going to help them do that? So that's always going to be center of attention, storyline number 1 when it comes to camp, OTAs, whatever the case may be. But also, I want to look at the cornerback competition. Last time we were out there for OTAs, Jack Jones was not out there as far as out there practicing. He could have been one of the guys that was in the pool, like Devontae Adams was in the pool. I don't know. I didn't see him, but he wasn't out there. So you saw a lot of Brandon Faison. You saw a lot of Jacorian Bennett. Of course, Nate Hobbs was in the slot. But you saw guys like that. You saw DeCameron Richardson, the rookie. He was out there competing. I want to see what it looks like, especially with Jack Jones out there, if, in fact, he is out there. And I won't know that, obviously, until Wednesday. But that's something to pay attention to because that cornerback competition across from Jack Jones is going to be interesting. Is that going to be something that Brandon Faison, who went out there, is pretty strong? He's really good at the bump and run. He's very physical at the line of scrimmage. That's why the last staff and Dave Ziegler and company wanted to make sure to bring him back because of his physicality at the line of scrimmage. Is that something that DeCameron Richardson could slide into that spot? Where's Jacorian Bennett in year 2? And look, I expect JB to make a step in year two. He was a guy that showed all the speed to be able to hang with any wide receiver a season ago. The problem with him is he got injured, hurt his hamstring, and it kind of slowed him down as far as the learning curve. There were some times that he was actually thrown out there in the mix, started some games for the Raiders his rookie year, and it just kind of looked like he would get lost in space at times. So how much better of a grasp of the defense does he have? That's going to be something to monitor. So I'll be looking for Zero a lot. I'll be looking for JB out there, Jacorian Bennett, to see how he takes that next step. We know Nate Hobbs is solidified as that slot corner, as he should be. Just go ahead and leave him there. He's fine, right? Can he play other positions? Sure. But his best spot, as far as I'm concerned, is that slot, and just go ahead and leave him out there. But I do think that competition across from Jack Jones, who's going to hold it down, who's going to be that other guy, that is going to be something that's obviously very important to pay attention to. Offensive line, how do these guys line up? That's also something we're paying attention to. We know Andre James is going to be the center. We know that Colton Miller is the left tackle. Last time we were out there, he was off to the side. He wasn't practicing, but he was there in attendance. But when he's out there, you know he's going to be the left tackle. There's no question. But who's lining up at left guard? Where's Dylan Parham lining up? Is he still lining up at right guard position? And how's Thayer Munford, after, letting it be known that he's here to be that right tackle? Is he still going to be that guy? How consistent can he be each and every practice? And you got guys like DJ Glaze. You got Dalton Wagner right there trying to, breathe down his neck. And, Andrews Pete is obviously a guy that's going to try to compete for the left tackle spot. But there's a lot of competition along that offensive line, even though there's really only, it feels like, one or two spots that are really up for grabs, which would be, maybe the left guard spot. And I'm assuming that Jackson Power Johnson is going to get that, but he's got to go out there and earn it. And then who's going to earn the right tackle position? And, one other area to pay attention to, and I'm going to try to dedicate myself to as much as, like a little bit of each of these so I can get as much in as possible. But we know about Devontae Adams. We know about, Jacoby Myers. We talk a lot about Brock Bowers now. We talk a lot about Michael Mayer, but who's the other wide receiver? Right. And I talked about it a little bit on Monday's show that, Trey Tucker, he kind of got lost in the shuffle from my own self, my own point of view, kind of glanced over him. And that was my fault. But can he step up and be that guy? Is there another wide receiver? Like, what's the wide receiver depth look like? Right? Who's going to be that dude? Again, we know Devontae, we know Jacoby, but that's where it really stops. So who's going to be the next wide receiver to really step up and say, hey, here I am. This is my job. I could be that number 3 wide receiver. They brought in Michael Gallup, right? They have others that they've added to the mix. There's plenty of dudes. Again, it's a 90-man roster, so you've got plenty of dudes right now. And it was a pretty good competition, I thought, last year for the wide receiver position. There was some after you got out of preseason last year thought, hey, this wide receiver should make it. This wide receiver should make it. Some of it's going to depend on special teams, what else they could bring to the table besides being a wide receiver. But I think that competition, especially for that number 3 wide receiver, number 4 wide receiver, will be a really good one. And I'm hoping that Trey Tucker really steps up and shines because he's got the speed. And the Raiders need to add that part of their offense. Like if they can get that guy that can be that deep threat, that would be huge for the success of the offense. But again, he's got to be consistent, hands and feet. That was his biggest problem his rookie year. But to his credit, it was his rookie year. So if he can get the hands, if he can get the feet, to be a lot smoother than it was his rookie year, then he could really be on to something. So that's something to pay attention to. But, OTAs today and tomorrow. Look forward to that. Of course, tomorrow we'll be out there at the facility. They'll be back out there again on the 31st. Then 3 days to June 3rd through 6th, and then mandatory minicamp June 11th through 13th. So that's what I got for you for segment number 1 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Coming up in segment number 2, players to extend before the season, and maybe a player or two that needs to show a little something before they get a contract extension. That's all coming up. It's segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about the title sponsor of the show, which is Gametime. And it's almost NBA Finals time, even though they're not going to start till June 6th. Right, the NBA Finals is just going to be, it seems like it's going to be so long before it actually gets going as, well, we've seen that the conference finals have not gone as planned. They have not been as competitive as we would have liked them to be. But regardless, whatever that means, right? Boston and Dallas are going to end up in the NBA Finals squaring up against each other, and you can have an opportunity to go and see them if you want to do that. Gametime can help you get there. Gametime can help you get there to any of the Raider games. We know the schedule. We know the where. We know the what time. We know all that now. That Gametime could help you do that as well. And even if you want to wait till the last minute to try to get your tickets into a certain event, it's all good. They've got you covered there as well. And please believe there is plenty of great events that you could want to be a part of that Gametime will help make you get there. All you got to do is take the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets with Gametime. Download the app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms will apply. Again, create the account, use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL. It's all one word, LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Want to take a look at the Raiders salary cap space. Want to take a look at some players that could be potentially in line for a contract extension, and a couple guys that may have to wait till the season is over before they've actually solidified their spot as an earned contract extension. And who knows, maybe the Raiders will let a couple of these guys go as well. But I grabbed a handful of dudes that I think could be in line, at least for the conversation, for sure. And this really comes from on Thursday night, finding out about Max Crosby not getting a contract extension, but getting a $6 million raise for the upcoming season. Again, if you didn't see the tweet or hear it, Adam Schefter had tweeted out on Thursday night, the Raiders reworked the contract of 3-time Pro Bowl defensive end Max Crosby to give him a $6 million raise for the upcoming season. The team also moved an additional $1.2 million into 2025. The Raiders wanted to reward their leader, culture setter, and one of the best players in the league with the intent of keeping him in Las Vegas for years to come. No new years were added to Crosby's deal, meaning the 26-year-old still has 3 years left on his current contract. So this is really where this conversation is coming from, is the fact that the Raiders decided to reward Max with a raise, not an extension, but a raise, which I thought was awesome. Right? I mean, guys always sign contracts, and then they start looking around and starting to see other guys sign contracts, and then all of a sudden they want their contract reworked, and, they want to see, they want to get more years on their contract, whatever the case may be. I like the fact that the Raiders saw what he's done and said, we need to give him a bump in his pay. Regardless of how that came about, just knowing that he got a bump in the pay, I think it sends a really good message to the locker room, to the rest of the team. Hell, it sends a message to the league that if you are playing for the Raiders, and you do what you're supposed to do, they're going to take care of you on their end. And Max Crosby's been doing what he's supposed to do for the Silver and Black since he came in the league in 2019. So currently, if you look at the Raiders' cap space, they're 15th in the league in cap space. They have just over $17 million. Their active cap space is just over $13 million, and they have $24 million in dead money. But remember, they're going to receive a big chunk of change post June 1st with Jimmy G's contract, when that comes off the book. So they're going to get a big jump in salary cap space. So they have plenty of money. Let's put it like that. I mean, look, they already have their full draft class already under contract. So with all that cap space that they have, $13 million, over $13 million in active cap space, they can go out and pretty much do whatever they want to do, especially with the knowledge of, there's more salary cap space coming in a matter of days. Now, they can go out there and they can go and bring in a free agent or two if they want, right? I mean, there's a couple of guys, cornerbacks, veteran cornerbacks that I know some people have been looking at. There could be a veteran wide receiver or two out there that they're still looking at. Linemen, like, they could still do some stuff outside of the building, but I'm really worried about inside of the building. And the guys that are free agents in 2025 that I thought were worth taking a look at: Malcolm Kuntz, Robert Spillane, Divine Diablo, Nate Hobbs, Marcus Epps, Trayvon Merrick, and then Isaiah Palomao, even though he's going to be a restricted free agent. So if I look at guys that I think have earned a contract extension right now, I really see two guys max. I see Malcolm Kuntz, who broke out after AP took over November 1st, had 8 sacks at the end of, at the back half of the season in 2023, really became a big compliment to Max Crosby. I think that he's in line to be a big-time player. I think he's just really starting to break out, and he's going to be a guy that Raider Nation is going to get excited about. And with edge rushers, you know how much money they make. I think if the Raiders could get in the lab and get a contract worked out with him ahead of time, it would be smart business, right? It would really be literally giving him a contract extension for what's coming, not what he's already done, right? I mean, he showed you, flashes of it last year with those 8 sacks that he had to compliment Max, but he's got that speed bull rush that man, he gets around the corner quickly and gets to the quarterback. And of course, Max has a few extra tools on his tool belt, and I know Malcolm is still working on it, but he showed me enough to say that I'm willing to spend some money on what's coming, right? Not everything necessarily that he's already done. His rookie year, he showed flashes in minimal snaps and then kind of went away. Got in Josh McDaniels' doghouse, and then Antonio Pierce released them out of that doghouse. And, well, you saw what happened. You saw the results of that. So I think Malcolm Kuntz is definitely a guy that has earned a contract extension. If they were to give him one before the season got started, I would have no problem with that. And the other guy I'd look at, Robert Spillane. And he's going into he's in now the final year of his contract. And the thing about it is Robert Spillane a guy that they want to keep around for the long term, or do they vision Tommy Eichenberg, who was a 5th-round pick out of Ohio State, eventually taking his place? Like that's one of the big questions. But I think that Robert Spillane has brought so much to the table and has been that Iron Man. He's been that Max Crosby, but at the linebacker position where he doesn't come off the field. The guy had a broken hand and he's out there playing with it. Just like Trayvon Merrick last year had a broken hand out there playing with it. Like that goes a long ways around the locker room. It goes a long ways around the front office. When you're showing that kind of dedication, you're still out there getting after it. And he answered a lot of critics' questions, including mine, when he signed with the Raiders, right? The whole conversation was he's a liability in coverage. He's a liability in coverage, and he took that personal. And whether he was a liability at one time or the teams just weren't using him correctly, he did well for the Raiders in 2023. He had 3 interceptions and had some big-time impactful plays, and again was just that Iron Man that never wanted to come off the field. He was literally Max Crosby, but from the linebacker position as opposed to the edge rusher. So I would have no problem if the Raiders decided to give him, tack on a couple extra years on his contract and give him a nice little bump, just to, a thank you for what he was able to do, not to mention be the leader of that defense as well. Him and Max were leaders together. I think that was a really good signing by Dave Ziegler, and I think that the Raiders, it would be smart business if they went and extended him. But again, the conversation is, what do they see long-term for Tommy Eichenberg, and do they think that he could be a guy that could eventually replace Robert Spillane? If they do, that could be a scenario where they let him walk. And the one guy, and actually I'll give you 2 guys, since I gave you 2 guys to extend now, I'll give you 2 guys that, I think that they have to play another season and then get their contract extension. And that's, sometimes it's risky because you can only franchise one of the guys if you don't get a deal done ahead of time, and then free agency opens up, then they can end up going anywhere, and then you'll get a compensatory pick. But Nate Hobbs is a guy that I like a lot. I think anyone who's listened to this show knows, and I think we all know what his ability is. His biggest thing that he has to prove, I believe, this upcoming year is availability. Right? I mean, anytime he's out there, fantastic. Nate Hobbs is a hell of a player. He's a tough dude. He doesn't mind going in there, putting his nose in there and tackling. He doesn't come up with a bunch of interceptions, but, I mean, he's a guy that seems like he's always around the ball. He brings that tenacity, and when Jack Jones signed with the team, he just seemed like it even was a bigger uptick. I think that 1-2 punch of Nate Hobbs and Jack Jones now with having a full season together is going to be that much better. I think iron's going to sharpen iron, and Jack Jones has made all those guys in the secondary room that much better, and they said that. Nate said that. Hell, Nate said Jack Jones is one of the best film study guys ever. So, Nate's learning a lot from Jack Jones. Their lockers are right next to each other in the locker room. I think that that's a good thing as well. I mean, they're thick as thieves, right? Kind of like Trayvon Merrick and Marcus Epps are. That's Nate Hobbs and Jack Jones. And again, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But he has to show, in my opinion, his availability, and that he could be a guy that's going to be counted on throughout the course of the season. You got to give, the team 13, 14 games at least, right? Really, you'd like him to be up there 16 or 17, but we know injuries happen, and he's had a couple fluke injuries with his hands, but at the end of the day, he still has injuries and he still has missed games, and so he plays a very important role. That slot corner position, he's on the field quite a bit, and like I said, he's an impact player. So I think Nate Hobbs needs to prove his ability just to be available in 2024 before he gets a contract extension. And Trayvon Merrick on the back end, I think he's a guy that we all know I like him. Right? I liked him when the Raiders signed him out of TCU. I was actually surprised that he lasted till the second round. I thought that was a good draft pick, but he slowly developed. Last year, I thought he played really good ball alongside Marcus Epps, and I mentioned him earlier. And it's funny because we were told last training camp that Marcus Epps and Trayvon Merrick are around the facility together all the time. Like when you see one, you see the other, right? And we kind of joked about it, why that is. But it's really, he was learning. He was picking the brain of Marcus Epps, and Marcus Epps was there really teaching him, trying to help bring him along. And you saw what kind of season Trayvon had last year, and now he's got, Patrick Graham for the 3rd time. Right, I mean, but coming into the league, and I don't want to make excuses for him, but the last year at TCU, he had a certain defense he ran. It was a different defensive coordinator. First year with the Raiders, different defensive coordinator. Then Patrick Graham shows up. So it's like he's got, I think he's on like defensive coordinator number 3 in the last handful of years. He's only on a 4-year deal. So yeah, he's already had 2 different defensive coordinators in the National Football League, and had one his final year there at TCU as well. So now he's going on year 3 with Patrick Graham. That's nothing but a blessing. Right now, he's just going to have more continuity, more understanding, and be able to take his game to the next level. And he's going to want to take his game to the next level because he want to get that paycheck. And if you look around the league, safeties are getting paid. There was a time when safeties weren't getting paid a whole lot. They're getting paid. Slot corners, they're getting paid. right? Linebackers, they still aren't getting paid that much, but they're getting paid. And even when I look at Robert Spillane, I don't look at him as the guy that's going to break the bank. He's not going to, go out and get best linebacker in the league type money. But, I can see them, like I said, the Raiders putting a couple extra years on his contract. But yeah, I'd like to see Trayvon Merrick have another nice season, play consistently throughout the whole year, 17 games, give me another 3-4 interceptions. He had 3 last year, including sealing the deal in that week 18 against Denver. Had basically the final play of the game. He had the interception off Jarrett Stidham there at Allegiant Stadium. Give me 3 or 4 interceptions, maybe take one to the house, just show that ability to get the ball and take it back, right? And he seemed like he got a lot better with finding and locating and tracking the ball in 2023. Just keep that up. Keep that party rolling. If he can keep that party rolling, that secondary has an opportunity to be really good. Of course, I'm still wondering who's going to be that corner across from Jack Jones, but I feel like that secondary has gotten a lot better. So as far as guys that I would extend right now, if I was a silver and black and I was in charge, which obviously I'm not, Malcolm Kuntz and Robert Spillane. I would have no problem going ahead and extending them right now, getting it done with. Guys that I would say, yeah, I want to extend them, but I want to also see a little bit more. Nate Hobbs for availability reasons, Trayvon Merrick for production reasons. Just that simple. So what says you out of those guys? And, of course, there's other guys that'll be free agents, but those are the biggest names. Malcolm Kuntz, Robert Spillane, Divine Diablo, Nate Hobbs, Marcus Epps, Trayvon Merrick, and Isaiah Palamau. Those are the guys that are the main guys I'm looking at that could potentially be in line for contract extension sooner rather than later. 707-654-4693. Your calls and texts are coming up next in segment number 3 on today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about FanDuel. And, well, it's winner-take-all time in the NBA and the NHL. What does that mean? The playoffs, and the playoffs, right? We get excited about the playoffs. Someone's going to be crowned a champion sooner rather than later in the NBA. And, of course, the Stanley Cup playoffs as well are going on. 2 of the best times of year. Really enjoy the hoop action that I get to see, even though the conference finals, the Eastern and the Western, haven't played out the way that we all expected it to. Thought it was going to be a lot more competitive than it's been. But, that's why they play the games, right? Well, right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and a whole lot more. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and texts straight off that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Let's start things off with Big Nate calling from L.A. He's calling to clarify his thoughts from Monday's show about AFC teams that we're looking at that could take a step back in 2024, teams that made the playoffs. Conversation we've had quite a bit here on the Locked On Raiders podcast. Here's Big Nate with the clarification.
Hey, Q, Big Nate from Los Angeles. I just listened to the Monday's episode of Locked On Raiders, and I realized my mistake. I missed almost a whole chapter of what I wanted to say, and I said it completely wrong. Pretty much, long story short, the division winners this year for me, I have it being, I'm going to start with the AFC East. In the AFC East, I see the Dolphins winning the AFC East. I see the Chiefs winning the AFC West. I see the Colts winning the AFC South. And I see Baltimore winning the AFC North. Now, with that being said, your wild card teams, I see it being the Raiders, the Steelers, but the team the Raiders going to overtake is the Browns. I don't see the Browns making it. So I got Buffalo as the wild card team this year. So I don't know the structure of the wild card teams, but I do see the 3 wild card teams being Steelers, Raiders, Bills. So I can't really bank on Deshaun Watson, and the Browns. I mean, they had a good season last year, but, the Browns have a tendency to brown. So, I just can't bank on them. But another key factor about the Steelers is, if you remember, Q, we were rattled with injuries last season, man. We lost, we were pulling guys off the couch out of retirement and plucking them in safeties, we're plucking them in at linebacker. So we had a bad season, man. And I know you can't predict the injuries, but to still go 10-7, I don't see us taking really a step back if we can avoid the injuries. So that's my playoff structure. And, So I realized what the mistake I made. I apologize. But, yeah, that's the updated structure I have. Thanks for taking my call. Have a good day.
Nate, thanks for the call. So the division champs are the Dolphins, Chiefs, Colts, and Ravens. And then the wild cards being the Raiders, Steelers, and the Bills. Okay, that's a hell of a shakeup right there as far as two different division champions with Miami and Indy, and then the Bills as a wild card team taking a step back. And I can see them taking a step back. I want to see what it looks like with, post Stephon Diggs, right? What does Josh Allen look like without Stephon Diggs? I know they have the two tight ends that they're excited about. How are they going to use that dynamic? Something similar to what the Raiders could be looking at with their two tight ends with Brock Bowers, excuse me, and obviously Michael Mayer as well. But the difference is the Raiders have big time wide receivers on the outside as well. I'm still hung up on the Colts conversation. I'm still, and nothing against you. I just feel like that there's so much uncertainty about that quarterback position that it's hard to just go ahead and determine that they're going to be a playoff team. But you're not the only one that's done it. So, again, it's nothing against you. It's more of a me thing. Like last year, I was really late on the Lions and how good they were, and I had no problem saying that I was going to be late to that party. I'm late to the Colts party this year. That's going to be the one that, hey, if they show up in the playoffs, Anthony Richardson really is that dude, great. And I'm not down that he can be that dude. The only thing I know is going into his rookie year, the biggest thing for him was getting some kind of reps. Right, getting some time out on the grass, right? He just didn't have experience. Well, he still doesn't have experience going into year two, so I'm not sure what changed and what makes us think that he's all of a sudden going to take that step without very much experience. But, again, they'll go out play their games for a reason, and if the Colts end up being really good, I'll be the first to come back and say, yeah, I was wrong. That was my bad. So thanks, Big Nate, for that call. Do appreciate you. Up next, got a text from Diego from San Diego. He says, hey, Q, it's your boy Diego from sunny San Diego. Wanted to chime in on a position that I feel like isn't getting enough criticism, which is the running back. Right now we have Zamir White, Alexander Madison, Dylan Lobby, Britton Brown, and Sincere McCormick. I feel like a lot of people are just assuming that Zamir White will get the job done. I went back and watched every carry Zamir White had last year, and to be honest, I'm not very impressed. He doesn't have breakaway speed. He's not very shifty, and I wouldn't consider him a power back either. Seems like a very solid number 2 running back. Pro Football Focus just ranked him the 32nd best starting running back in the NFL. I know Telesco likes to go running back by committee, but do we even have enough talent to have a good committee? Thanks for taking my question, Q. Just win, baby. And that's Diego in San Diego. And I think that's a very valid question. And it's funny because I asked Luke Getzey about the running back room the other day when we were at the OTAs, and he's like, I can't really tell you anything about them right now, not until they put pads on. But I think your question is very valid, right? Zamir White had a nice little 4-game run with the Raiders the last end of the season when Josh Jacobs couldn't play. But I've said it from day one. I think the loss of Josh is big. I really do. Like, can Zamir White hold down that position? Can he be the lead dog? Can he be really good in the blocking game as well, like Josh Jacobs was? Like, there's a big shoes to fill. Let's put it like that. So, yeah, I think that's a very valid question. And we know that I think Dylan Lobby is going to be a good addition to the Raiders offense, but used in multiple different ways. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, there's going to be questions, and we won't know the answer until training camp when they put the pads on, preseason when they're actually out there on the grass, and probably not till the first, handful of games in the regular season to see if he's able to hold down that spot. So that's a very, very valid question, I should say. That's not a bad question, not a controversial question. That's a very real question about the running back position, and that's something I'm definitely paying attention to as well. Diego, thanks so much for the text. I do appreciate you. Up next, got a call from Kale from Portland, Oregon. He's calling to respond to Southwest Raider fan call from last week when he talked about AP and what he has done hasn't necessarily translated to wins. Here's Kale from Portland, Oregon.
Hey, what's going on, Q? This is Kale from Portland, Oregon. Man. I promise you, like, this is a response to Southwest Raider. I don't understand, like, some of these fans. Like, did we watch the same Raiders when AP took over? Is he talking about the Impala and the Black Forces? Like, all that's nice. Did it translate to wins? Did you watch when he took over? Like, the whole culture changed, literally, like, overnight. We could have folded, bro. We beat the Chiefs on the road, right? On the road, we beat the Chiefs. And we set a franchise record for points versus the Chargers. Like, what are we talking about, bro? Like, I'm not understanding the disrespect. Like, I understand he could say 8 wins. That's his opinion, but as far as, like, did it translate to wins and culture? Like, yes, bro. Like, the whole culture changed. Like, literally, the whole culture changed. I see us winning 10 games, at least 10. And I like that Vikings comparison that the other caller brought up that you just talked about on the show. the 16 to 17 Vikings. That's a good comp. I see us getting at least 10 wins, man. But yeah, I just had to call. I had to call because this dude's Southwest Florida Raiders, man. That's crazy. Like, the disrespect is wild. It's not just him. It's other things you see on X on Twitter. It's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, man, go Raiders, man. It's gonna be a good season.
Kale, thanks so much for the call. I appreciate you, and I'm with you, right? And I think out of all the coaches the Raiders have had in the last handful of years, going back to, I would say, Jack Del Rio before he got a contract extension, I mean, AP has shown the most, right? I mean, of course, John Gruden was the coach that was around the longest in that period of time, but I think AP showed a lot. Now, of course, he's got to go ahead and show some more this year. It's all about wins. It's not about, feel-good stories or, shouting out Raider Nation and this, that, and the other and appealing to the fan base. He's got to go out there and win. But I believe he's given this team more hope than any of the coaches that he's had. I mean, it was him. It was before him. It was Josh McDaniels. It was John Gruden. But then it was Rich Bisaccia as well. Bisaccia was the interim coach, right? I mean, yeah, I think AP has shown just as much, if not more, than all those guys already, right? I have way more faith in AP, and I feel like what he has done and shown with the organization has led to wins, and I think it will lead to more wins. Again, he's got to go out there and get it done. I'm not trying to crown him before he does that, but yeah, I was with you. So it kind of blew my mind when my man was saying that what AP has done hasn't translated into wins yet. I absolutely think it has. So thanks so much for the call. I do appreciate you. Up next, got a text from Mike King and Pico Rivera. He said, "What's up, Q? I just have a question for you to maybe comment on. Why is everyone not concerned or talking about these ticket prices that are ridiculously priced for Raider games? I have a family of 4 and will have to spend at least $1,600 to take my family to see the Raiders at Allegiant. And that's not even counting anything else. That's just the ticket prices. Please let me know what you think." That's from Mike King from Pico Rivera. And Mike, thanks for the text. I appreciate you. And you're not wrong. Ticket prices are expensive. Matter of fact, the Raider tickets are the most expensive tickets in the league. Right? That's something that I think we've talked about quite a bit, and I don't know at what point you start listening to the show, but yeah, I mean, we've been talking about ticket prices at Allegiant. They are a lot, and I understand when I buy tickets for my family and friends to go to games, I spend a lot of money, right? I don't get any kind of discount, so I know how expensive these tickets are. They are not cheap at all. It's a great time out. It's a great venue to be at. I encourage you to take your family if you can, at least once to experience it. But yeah, I totally get it. And honestly, to take it a step further, Mike, I think the ticket prices for events, period, are way too much, right? Maybe that's the old man in me, and I'll own that. But to take a family of 4 to anything these days, you got to basically get a second job, right? I mean, these ticket prices. I mean, there was a time, and again, I'm showing my age. There was a time that you can go to the Oakland Coliseum and give $10 for a parking to park. Now it's like what, $75 for a parking pass? Like, we never bought parking passes. I would just give the dude at the front gate $10 and I drive in and park. And that's what it was. And that was expensive parking. And again, that was many moons ago. That's why I said I'm showing my age, but times have changed, man. Times have changed in a major way. It's almost not worth going to games. And I never want to encourage people not to go to games, but I understand where you're coming from. $1,600 for tickets, not to mention buying hotel rooms or wherever you end up staying, not to mention food. Every time that you want to eat, like I get it. And there's a guy who does a lot of stuff on the road, right? And travels on the road and will do the same thing when training camp comes up. It's the same thing I got to do, right? I got to deal with the prices of a place to stay, food, whatever I'm doing, whatever the activities are. Like, yeah, man, ain't nothing cheap no more. So I totally understand. And if you decided that, the best seat in the house is my seat at the house, I wouldn't blame you. But again, it sucks that the experience is just, it's hard to have everybody experience it when the tickets are as pricey as they are. But yeah, the Raiders are definitely the most expensive ticket in the league. Thanks so much for the text. I do appreciate you. Up next, got a call from Mike P. in Pittsburgh, Cali. He's calling as a new booty caller, has a question for me and for Raider Nation. Here he is, Mike P.
What's up, Q? New booty caller, Mike P. from the Pittsburgh Bay Area, California. Calling to have a quick, little off-topic question because I am from the Bay. First of all, just thank you for everything you do for the Raiders and the culture, and appreciate what you do for us. Hard work. My first listen every night, midnight, at work. Basically, what I wanted to ask was, what's the deal? Once again, it's kind of off-topic of what's going on right now, but scheduling and all that stuff came out, so I just wanted to say. Question was, what's the deal with the blackout situation here in the Bay Area with the scheduling with the 49ers playing at 1 o'clock and the Raiders playing at 1 o'clock for some reason that makes us Raider fans not receive that telecast in the Bay Area. Everybody knows there's Raider fans still plenty, if not the most, in the Bay Area. I know LA's pretty close, but I mean, what's up with Fox and CBS not giving us the Raiders at 1 o'clock when it's going against the Niners? It seems like when the Niners have that 1 o'clock, it's always like a cross the fingers moment for a Raiders fan, like, oh, I hope we get this game, because I'm one of those fans that looks at the game and to telecast it when it's going to be on, and hopefully we get it, and that's just the question I have. If there's anything you can do, Q, you got the power, man. You've done everything for Raider fans. Just wanted to say if you can put that out there and just see, like, what's up with that, man? What's up with that, NFL? There's plenty of Raider fans in the Bay Area. Don't black us out. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Q, for what you do. Appreciate you. Go Raiders.
Mike, thanks so much for the call. And yeah, now we've actually had this question quite a bit, and I don't really know the dynamics with the broadcast area for the Bay Area. I just know that that's not the Raiders' home area anymore, and it doesn't have anything to do with how many fans are there and who's supporting the team and who's not supporting the team. Now that they've moved from the Bay to Las Vegas, that is not their home market anymore. Their home market is Vegas. Just like if there was a ton of fans of, say, the Rams here in Las Vegas, and they say, hey, we want to watch the Rams game instead of the Raiders game. It doesn't matter. The Raiders have the market right here in Las Vegas, right? Nobody else does. Well, in the Bay, the 49ers have the market right. So the market rights. And look, there's more that goes into it. I don't know everything about it. I know that we have plenty of listeners that are Bay Area natives that know the dynamics a lot better than I do. But it's all about market, the home market, target, this, that, and the other. And that's basically what it is. So it's one of those where you're almost forced to, get YouTube TV and get, Sunday Ticket if you want to see your team consistently, which sucks that it has to be that way. But that's just kind of how it is, and that's how the league, and that's just how they shape up, and they continue to make as much money as they can. But thanks so much for the call, Mike. I appreciate you being a new booty caller. Shout out to Pittsburgh, California, my old stomping grounds right there. Not mad at that at all. Got one more text, a pretty lengthy text. This one's from JV Raider from Georgia. Q, JV Raider from Georgia. Hope this makes it on the show. Just want to say shout out to our staff on the $6 million raise for Mad Max Crosby. Max is doing all the right stuff, and his podcast is great. It gives us a deeper look at certain relationships in this locker room. Everyone seems bought in, including Raider Nation. He is more than deserving of that kind of reward and sends the right message to the locker room and the league. Players talk about there being no loyalty in the league. Well, he is the face of this franchise, and we might just set a new standard for the NFL. On that note, I believe the most intriguing group heading into next season might just be the defensive line group. We know Max and Wilkins are going to bring the pressure, but both Kuntz and Tyree Wilson finished the season strong. You can't tell me they weren't a large part of us being the number one defense in the back half of the season. Our line is bound to eat this upcoming season. I'm also excited about the rookies we've added, which leads me to another point. Q, next time y'all get a chance to talk to Max, one of the questions you could ask him if he plans on bringing one of our rookies on his podcast. I think that'd be cool. Anyway, Q, thanks for the show. Salute. That's JV Raider out. JV Raider from Georgia. Thanks so much. And yeah, I think that was very well deserving for Max to get the $6 million raise, right? I mean, a lot of times guys are, complaining about their contract and the money on their contract and needing an extension, this, that, and the other. And all Max did is go about his business. Nobody talked about his contract, and he got a $6 million raise. Then $1.25 million for 2025, and I'm sure that there's probably more on the way where that came from. But for right now, at least that gives him a nice little sense of, hey man, we appreciate everything you're doing on the field, off the field as a leader and a tone setter for the organization, and it does send a great message, I think, to the rest of the locker room and the rest of the league. I do believe Kuntz and Tyree are going to have a good opportunity this year. Kuntz really ate. At the second half of the season, once AP became the head coach. Tyree Wilson did okay, 3.5 sacks, but I think that he'll have an opportunity to really do well this year, especially because he's in really good shape and he's healthy, right, which is something that is big. As far as asking Max about the rookies, maybe if I see him off to the side, I won't waste a media type question with that. Just that might be something as we're walking out of the locker room. I just ask him, hey, what are your thoughts on this, that, and the other? I could probably do that, but I don't want to sit there in a press conference type setting and ask him something about that. That's not something I'm going to ask. There's more important questions to ask about the team as opposed to if a rookie's going to come on the show or not. I don't need to advertise for Max. He does a great job advertising his podcast on his own. Thanks so much for that text, though. I do appreciate you. Got a call from Raider Meatloaf. We'll get that on tomorrow's show. Got more texts we'll get to as well. Plus, we'll have news and notes, and maybe I'll have some information about the OTAs, even though we're not there until tomorrow. Maybe I'll get a little bit of that information as well. Of course, we'll have plenty of conversation here as well. So, enjoy the rest of your day. Whenever you get an opportunity to listen to the show, we definitely appreciate it. As always, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.